So now, the last thing on the agenda, arguably the headline, act is going to be an audience with Alex Wurz. Alex, if you're on the line, feel free to let me know you're here. Alex is an advisor ambassador for Toyota GAZOO Racing, a World Endurance Championship, two-time Le Mans 24-hour winner. Alex's list of kind of accolades within motorsport is, dare I say, quite long. And yeah, I would be thrilled to have a list of accolades like that come at the point in my career that Alex is at. Alex, really happy to speak to you now. Look forward to getting into chatting about you, a bit about your life, how you got into karting, how you got into motorsport, and kind of some of your current interests aside from motorsport, or I guess parallel at least as well. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes. Hello, Tom. I'm here. I can hear you. Hopefully you
yeah.
can hear me.
Perfect. Can hear you. Can see you. How are you doing? How are things?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Listen a little bit into football. Very fascinating what's happening there. But I come from Bahrain, from an 8-hour race, the final round of the World Endurance Championship, where Toyota already won the Constructors World Championship, and one of our cars has won the Drivers World Championship on the weekend. So slight hangover, but we had a good party. No, we didn't party because it's not allowed, but really remembering.
Good. We caught you on a good day then. Is football your sport? Do you follow football at all, or is it you just you're a motorsport first kind of guy?
No, I'm a motorsport guy. I love football, what it brings as an emotion to the world. It brings people together. It should bring people together. If I would have just one wish that players would maybe complain a little bit less and more respect to the referee, as an example to all school kids around the world. Nevertheless, it's a fantastic sport. I know there is a lot of science, a lot of efforts going in. And for my own job, I have looked into football because for race driving, space awareness and knowing how objects and competitors are moving in your peripheral vision. As a driver coach for many top drivers, but also for Toyota, I'm looking into that. Yeah, I wish there would be more, but like everything, as you know, and we discussed already last few hours, we are on a good path, but we have a long way to go still to make use of modern technology and data.
Yeah, we'll get into the role of kind of technology and how you use it in your current roles. I guess to get to that point, it'd be nice to build a picture on who you are, what you've achieved professionally. I understand you were a BMX world champion at the age of 12. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right. Started my career in cycling on the BMX bike. I started with 11, with 12. I went to Italy, participated in the World Championship. No one knew me, but anyway, I came back as a gold medal winner, yeah, World Champion.
For the next question, I'll just mention, if anyone has any questions, please stick them in the Q&A, and we will, Simon and James, I've been told, will be running around with the virtual microphones to get them to me and Alex. BMX then to karting, and then to motorsport, I guess, bigger engine machines. Is that a natural progression to go from BMX to karting, or was there something in your upbringing which kind of brought that on?
Yes, Tom, you know my CV. And my father was a race driver, my grandfather was a race driver, and the BMX riding was just actually a gap to fill. I loved it as a young kid to travel around the world as a pro, but my mindset, my heart was always in motorsport. So then I stopped BMX riding, went into karting with really super small budget, where on some races I was my own mechanic, having to rebuild my engines myself, which was not very successful, but it really got serious when I went into single-seater. My father, he helped me a lot to understand that I have to find the sponsors, I have to find partners, I have to convince the teams, and there's no better person to do that than myself. So I did actually always find good teams. I went through the younger categories, won championships, then ended up in the German Touring Car Championship, going to Le Mans, and then made it to F1.
And you were the youngest person to win Le Mans, I understand, and that's still something that stands today. You're part of a team that won it. What did that mean to you back then? Did the size of that achievement, was that something you could consider at that time, or has it taken a few years to realize how big an achievement that was?
It took a few years to realize, but actually I was not supposed to race in Le Mans, and the team who I raced for, Wurz Racing, who run a Porsche semi-factory program, they had a driver, he fell ill, he had fever, and Reinhold just knew that I'm really in love with Le Mans and sports cars. So I had to substitute for this driver. It was Pierluigi Martini, a Formula 1 driver as well. And I remember the day, because I arrived in the middle of the night in a test. All the other drivers were tired, and Reinhold said, I know you don't know the circuit and you don't know the car, but can you just help us for this endurance test? So a preparation run where you run 24 hours for the engine and everything to be tested. Third lap, I was the fastest. So he said, you are lying, you know the circuit. I said, my friend, I don't know the circuit. You told me what to do in which corner. So I got another test. I was again the fastest. And then I was nominated to race. And as a 21-year-old, I had no idea what to expect. It all happened very fast. We led every race, not one mistake. So it was one of these perfect weekends where as a young kid, without any worries, you just turn up, your mindset is completely free and focused. And it turned out that I won the race, which was a decisive moment for my Formula 1 career, because on the day after, Flavio Briatore called me up and says, I've seen you race in Le Mans. I watched you in F3. I want you in my F1 car. And that's how I got into F1. Just actually lucky, because I had no money, no sponsors to support me.
Yeah, amazing. I want to move on now and talk about essentially the impact of data. And this whole conference has been around the use of data, about talking about strategy in motorsport, about actually communicating to drivers. And in our kind of pre-conference talk, I was explaining about the impact of the ECU, which is the electronic control unit, and how that was introduced in 2008. And you kind of stopped me and said, look, I'm not a dinosaur. I've been used to data my whole career. Can you say, how potentially, you've evolved as a driver, and how you've come from someone who came into the sport when it was less data savvy than it was now, and you kind of evolved to understand and use that to your advantage? Was that something that you'd say happened?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So thank you. Whilst I might look like a 10 or so to our viewers and to you, I'm not. I grew up in motorsport when data gathering came in, and I always liked it. Whilst the data doesn't always tell you the truth, I, as a driver, can use it as a communication tool to my engineer, who thinks only in graphs, shapes, numbers, and spreadsheets. And I think in feelings and emotions. But I made use of the data recording, that I can guide them in a direction. So it became a cooperation. I never felt that I'm watched or observed or judged on the data, because it's just helping us to communicate and to find quicker solutions. In the end, we are all measured in lap time. And with all the data recording over the years, we found first as a great tool to understand, but we are now much further, that we are not only understanding and measuring what happened and in retrospect analyzing it, we are looking forward, and we are going into a strong phase of predicting outcomes, predicting setups. And on this sense, I was the first driver to work with McLaren at the time to develop simulation, driver in the loop simulation, which I've done tons and tons of hours and worked together with the engineers to develop the models and what is important for the drivers in terms of cueing, that I understand what the car is doing, that my brain thinks it's in the real world. So lots of experience on those fronts.
And did you find that working, as a driver in those simulations, you do feel when they change things like very slightly, you are kind of at one with the car in certain situations, that if they tweak, I don't know, if they noticed or they tweak your steering such that you understand on purpose, you can tell them that, like, that relationship between you and the car is so tight. Is that the case?
Yes, well, I mean, it's obviously the case in real life on the track. I wouldn't be there, wouldn't have been used by all the top teams to be a development or race driver. But then the simulation, you have to then figure out, okay, what is the model? What is the hardware? Because we do have lag, we do have stiffness issues in the simulation platform. So you have to really dig deep and think, okay, where is the issue that I don't feel like in the real car, or I cannot use the sensation or the information like in the real car. And that's just a close cooperation between the engineers, drivers, and you're going through the usual R&D phases.
Yeah. One thing which I definitely come to learn from speaking to you and speaking to Simon in preparation for this was just the complete difference in culture between Formula One and football. At Formula One, you are constantly available, and you kind of put it, there's nowhere to hide. Can you kind of explain what it's like being a Formula One driver and what that actually means? Like, what is a race day experience actually like for you?
Okay, well, being a Formula One driver is quite cool. It means you have a lot of attention, and yeah, I don't want to go into the more funny side. I want to go in the real side. This is what you're aiming for. Well, every 2 weeks you are measured against the best people in the world in front of 500 million TV viewers. So that means everything has to work to perfection. It's one of the most financial rich sports we have out there. But every euro or dollar, whatever it might be, is invested into the product to go fast. And at every step on the track or in the simulation, you are monitored, you are measured, and you are compared. So you have to be pretty relaxed in a sense, but you have to also make use of around the top team. At the time I was racing had 800-900 people. Now we are 1,000 people at the top teams. And everyone needs to know how is the driver performing, where can we improve. And you are one part of a few thousand parts which is constantly reviewed on the data. So if you would be an old school person and you think, I don't want data, you know, I'm not comfortable with it, there's no way to be home in this industry, in Formula One or motor racing. And as I mentioned before, I am actually the one who drives the real car and have to make everyone understand where is the next weakest link. Where is the weakest link? Is it chassis? Is it aerodynamic? Is it our data processing? Is it our processes? Is it our strategy tools, decision-making process? And everything is recorded and analyzed. And that's where I think it's actually beautiful that you are in the center, you're in the epicenter of this techno universe, and you are steering, because I think only the driver and maybe the chief engineer has a 360-degree view and connection to all aspects. So you are connecting all these departments, all these 900 people to pull in the right direction. That's it's pressure, but amazing, amazing to be in the center. Would
you say that's unique to Formula One compared to other sports?
I would think in this dynamics and this to be total part of the culture, it's unique. I was also owner of a professional mountain bike team. We won the World Cup many times. When I started to be the team boss there, and I said, look, we're gonna just record each and everything, every race. We're gonna look and, you know, performance output, wattage output, heart rate, correlation, sleeping patterns, everything we did. I had resistance from my riders. It took a long time to make them feel comfortable and actually make use of all of this data.
On the flip side, you had a segue there where you could have gone down the technical route or down the fun route of Formula One. What is that experience like? Being you're on the hook to entertain VIPs. You can be trying to get in the zone and, you know, in the pit, and then have to, you know, snap out of it to go and have a conversation with someone. Is that a mindset you build up over time through, you know, doing this thing over and over and over again?
Yes, Tom, it is. So, for example, in motorsport, like every sport, kids start doing it from a young age, and it is motorsport culture that even 2 minutes before the race start of the World Championship deciding moment, I have to talk to VIPs or take a picture with beautiful girls or whatever it might be. And you need to have a mindset, because in no other sport is it normal that anyone, even the TV interviewer, can come and ask you. And I had questions just before the start of deciding races. Oh, you're scared, it's wet, it's aquaplaning, you can crash with 300 km an hour, you know. It's our culture. You have to just accept it and deal with it. I haven't seen this anywhere else than in motorsport, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, I mean, at least in football, players are so much more cushioned from the media. They're so much further away. You are elected to do kind of pre and post match stuff, and aside from that, the mix zone at the end of a game is voluntary. You don't have to talk to anyone. So you're also the chairman of the kind of Grand Prix Drivers Association, and you were talking there about with your mountain bike team. You know, you were trying to get information or data on sleep and nutrition and things like that. In the world of, you know, we live in 2020, everything is tracked at the moment. Do drivers ever come to you with concerns about what their data is being used for, or having themselves tracked, or is it, you know, are they much more lax and used to it now?
No, so we are relaxed in a sense, but equally we are extremely aware that data is gold. It's probably the product of racing, the TV product, the online product can still grow with driver data being portrayed, being shown, whatever it might be. You know, you go that far that a driver can be characterized by his own actions, reactions, the way he drives. Everyone has his own unique driving style. So we could actually make a data set out of this and put it online. You can have an online Lewis Hamilton, you could have an online probably Ayrton Senna, where you get the data out of his old, you get his character out of his old data. But that's something where the personal data and very strict jurisdictional restrictions are coming in. And this is where the drivers are very acute and aware, because it's a commercial aspect. We are definitely and fully engaged with the FIA on the safety aspect. Formula One, we are wearing sensors, biometric sensors, which is developed that it should save a driver or give very critical information to the medical team in the accident. So we are recording everything. We are building up a global, worldwide data set with the FIA to learn from accidents. But again, we are looking ahead. We are also trying to learn from the near misses. And in motorsport, the near misses are on television, and we can analyze, okay, how lucky have we been in this near miss? And how can we improve the situation, the process, the safety, the driving, whatever it might be. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that near miss analysis is interesting, because that's obviously more on the safety side, but we do see that in football more now on the performance side of, I guess, near misses. And Andy was presenting earlier and showed an example of essentially a situation which could have led to a good attack but didn't. So that notion of a near miss definitely seems that something that is throughout the use of data in various sports is useful to take a step back from just looking at the things that have happened, like crashes or goals, and look at those which are closer to happening. In terms of your time as a driver, what is the impact of SBG being with I guess Toyota now, and then in the past with Braun and Honda and Williams?
Yeah, exactly. So SBG is a long partner of mine and the teams I worked for. Also, I worked as a driver steward in the FIA. The FIA uses all of SBG's system and software. So wherever I'm going, we find each other again, and there's a permanent exchange, because it's an ongoing learning. It's like I mentioned before, I always use the phrase, it's the assessment of the weakest link. You fix it, something else becomes the weakest link. And, you know, in our cooperation together, we do that. So their expertise is second to none, their forward thinking, and also their reliability and their trustworthiness, because if you are working for different teams and someone develops new IP and expertise, it needs really great partners. And in motorsport, this is really one of the key aspects, is that you're not disclosing even the slightest of it to another partner. And so very long history.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work we did together.
And I take it, obviously, your time at Braun, obviously winning the championship in that time, it was one of the earlier years that SBG, I guess, was coming to the fore in Formula One. How much would you say is the product's changed, or how much have you seen it and you've seen it change? Have you just kind of been in, it's been in the background for you, or you've actually been up close and personal with it throughout your time in motorsport?
Close up, but also sometimes just in the background, and then make use of the tools because you trust the engineers. But this development process is exponential, because you're starting somewhere, you're making improvements, and wherever you make small improvements, we tend to start not only walking, we're running, we're sprinting, and then supersonic speed comes after. And we are still in an enormous process of how can we use data. And for me, the most complex part is not in the strategy, in aerodynamics, whatever. It is actually in tire science, to understand how our contact patch interacts tire to the asphalt, temperature, and how much grip I'm getting out of it. And this is where the real lap time gains are made at the minute, and where most of the attention of all the teams are going. This is tire science, and it's a big performance differential at the moment. Yeah.
One question we've got is from Gareth Griffith, who I assume you've heard of. How do you see the future of Formula One, Formula E, and WEC? Will there be convergence in the future?
That's a very interesting question. So, as a matter of fact, we can see that the relationship from a consumer to the car is changing. It's rapidly changing. Maybe rightly so, but the car is not anymore a status symbol, is not anymore for the whole audience an emotional tool and a sign of freedom, because the car is greatest sign of freedom that I can sit in and drive wherever I want. It is more and more becoming just a means of transport. Yep. And even that now is questioned, that micromobility is taking over. So the car itself, the automobile industry, is in a rapid change. Equally, we have a rapid change in consumer behavior, because we are overwhelmed with entertainment, wherever that might be. From our telephone to the cinema, to, if you still have some, don't have anymore a television at home watching TV. And we are part in this sport is part of entertainment. Whereas for me, sport is always sport, and it shouldn't be a show, but it's entertaining people to watch it. So we have these many dynamics, and where racing is fitting in is a big question mark, which is discussed internally. Also there, you can make analytics of how behaviors, behavior trends and patterns are unfolding between fans from existing motorsport cultures or new game fans, old, young, you name it. And we need to tread very carefully in those days to give correct directions. If that means we are merging the championships or we are coexisting, I would rather hope that we are coexisting, all motorsport, of cross-referencing between each other, sharing platforms together, so that we, as a whole of motorsport, as a very, very massive industry, you know, high-tech industry, I wouldn't say survive, but actually have the potential to grow in the next 2 or 3 decades. And this is for me the key. Is I wouldn't look into how much potential there is to shrink. I would think we can grow, because we are a fascinating industry, and we can definitely do what horse racing did. The horse was the main mean of transport 100 years ago. It's not anymore, but horse racing is still there. And on a larger scale, also we race drivers, the racing industry, can maintain and be one of the biggest sport events viewed every year.
Yeah. I think Simon's going to pull up a video now, but I want to get on to micromobility really and talk about ESC, which I guess you're pointing towards, or which pretty much points towards kind of this matching of motorsport and micromobility. So I don't know if you want to play the video first, and Alex can speak through after. Brilliant. Thanks, Simon. So, Alex, give us I mean, we've seen the pitch about what ESC is, and it's coming next year. But it's this mix of, I guess, micromobility, a sport with a tiny carbon footprint, and one you can take pretty much anywhere in the world. Is that correct?
Yes. So ESC, Electro Scooter Championship. That's a company. I'm part of the company. I'm a shareholder. It's a startup, and my friend Khalil Bashir, he was a race driver as well, had this idea that we go racing with scooters in the cities. And then in our brainstorming sessions together, I said, oh my God, in the current environment where the micromobility is the answer of, I would say, urban transport, we realized what this idea could actually mean. And it's not that we are just adrenaline junkies who want to see those scooters. We are currently developing the scooter with Williams Advanced Engineering. We are having performance output, which is quite scary for the riders. So even MotoGP riders will be challenged on our scooters. We're not adrenaline junkies as such that we just want to have crazy races in the city. Giving platforms to the stakeholders, rule makers, policy makers, energy companies, tire companies, everyone who is involved around micromobility, and finally the user, of course, will have the platform via EC. We have safety experts employed, real heavy hitters in the safety world, road safety. So we have a massive task in our hand. We have an enormous amount of interest from the big the global players in the tech industry. We have the cities already chasing us. We are already in the process of signing up first teams, and we are developing our grassroots connection, because above being micromobility, sustainability, environmental, smallest carbon footprint any racing service in the world will have, we are also wanting to connect to the grassroots, and we are trying to do that globally, and we are working all of this out. So we are growing. I think we started a year ago as 2 people, then we were 3, then we are 4, and I think now we are almost 30 people already trying to prepare us for our next year's season. And I'm really looking forward to see this scooters racing.
Can you give us some specifics on the speeds? Like, what makes it scary for a MotoGP driver?
That you're on this tiny little thing, and we will accelerate faster than sports cars on the road will accelerate. We are 2-wheel drive, so all-wheel drive. I think we are limiting the straight line, so we are not reaching more than 120 kilometers an hour. We want to be still right in the city centers, let it be Central Park, Hyde Park, on the main square, Vienna, Berlin, you name all of those cities. This is what we're aiming for. Our race format will not only be a circuit. It might be from A to B. It might be pop-up events without spectators. We might be part of large music festivals, of exhibitions. We are very versatile as a race event, I would say.
And in terms of your role in that, it's very much road safety and racetrack design. And do you feel that the outputs of that, or the learnings from that, will go, and like we've seen with a lot of technologies in F1 cars, will go and actually help us make micromobility safer, better for the general public at the end of it? Is that an end goal of yours?
Yeah, this is one of the major goals. So yes, you mentioned, of course, being an investor and startup partner with creating the big vision. Now my focus is on track design and safety. And safety is such a big topic for micromobility that it's in all our heart, and it's maybe the #1 priority of ESC. Not maybe, definitely it is. If you think scooters, if we are going into the urban environment, at the beginning we're going to have amazing challenges mixing with the car, mixing with pedestrians. So if modern technology can link scooters up, if modern technology sensors can tell the scooters, okay, I am close to people, I'm only allowing you a power output of that much power and maximum speeds of, let it be 5, let it be 10 kilometers an hour. If the scooter can realize, okay, now the surface is wet, so I have to be much more careful on how I'm delivering your power. It's an endless amount of possibilities for data and connectivity to be used for a safer transport of tomorrow. And we want to be the platform where the racing environment and the best teams and engineers in the world also tackling road safety and bringing and delivering solutions. So this is really where the main aim of ESC is, other than being an exciting new championship.
Amazing. Well, we wish you the best of luck with ESC. I personally am really looking forward to seeing it, how it grows. And yeah, Alex, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck with the rest of the season.